This is it. Two guys duking it out for the win in the biggest race of the season. But who are these guys and what game are they playing this on? All of this and more will be answered in this video. To start, we have to go back to early 2021 when the NRG Racing Group formed on a game called NASCAR Full Pack Racing Unlimited. This game is actually still available, it's just called NASCAR Race Day nowadays. The league, like most others at the time, started with playing on pre-made games, letting anyone who showed up race and have a good time. Most of this early footage that is shown in seasons 0 and 1 are from my phone's perspective. They're all recorded from me, and I made them into YouTube compilations way back in the day. Most of these compilations are now considered to be unfunny meme reviews, but they were funny to me at the time, and most of them are private because they're pretty rough to watch. After a while of just running around for fun, without even a sanctioning body, we just talked through chat and had a Roblox group, we decided to form a sanctioning body. It was initially called NRG, and it was just a small Discord server with most of the main guys in it. With this, we formed our first season, which we're going to call Season 0 because shortly through, it was cancelled because the racing was rough and we realized we needed to make some changes. Most of these changes came in the form of rulebooks and point systems. The point systems were obviously so we could keep track of our points. And we initially had a playoff format where we had a round of 8 and a round of 4 to crown our champion. The rulebook changes were obviously so we could have rules that were set in stone and no one would argue about what the rules were. They all became concrete once we had rulebooks, and it really made the racing a lot more easy for Season 1. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of remaining footage from these seasons because it was so long ago and we didn't have any live streams. But the only Season 0 footage is really that 500 win from the start, and my Season 1 500 win is actually gone. But we do have the old points formats and schedule. Season 2 would bring a lot of changes, including the Season 2 500 being the first race to be live streamed. If it wasn't obvious, we're on our own created tracks now, and the Season 2 500 was the first of these. This 500 was actually pretty rocky and had a lot of intermissions in it. I myself only ran like 20 laps, but this was before we had lap down car rules and stuff like that. And it actually went to Extinct, so the only 500 winners at this point were me and Extinct being a 2-time champion. And it was overall a decent race other than the few intermissions and rocky bits to it. Where our development team really shined though was the intermediates, as these old brick cars, as I called them because they were hard to spin out, produced some great hard intermediate racing because you could really rough up the guy next to you without having a lot of damage to your car or any lost speed. And if you look at this Vegas race, it's a prime example of how packed up we were and how fluid we could race while beating each other's doors off. If you go back and look at most of these intermediate 1.5 mile races, most of them race similar to this, especially on the high banks. The 2 cars you see in the lead are the 3 of Amsky and the 32 of Ollie, and don't worry, this isn't the last you've seen of either of these drivers. Season 2 is also the last race to feature a playoff format, the same as Season 1, and the 48 of Brad would go on to win this race, which would help him make the chase. Another notable race was Darlington, where fan and group favorite the Wolf 99 got his first and only win in the NSCRS Cup Series. This and his consistency throughout the season would also help him make the chase. Aside from a few barn burners at both of the Talladega races, there wasn't much action to the season before the playoffs started. One of the Talladega wins went to the previously mentioned Ollie driving the number 22 Good Wrench Pontiac. Yeah, this scheme was kind of weird. And right behind him and Brad in third was Mr. Businessman, coming back from Season 0. Don't worry, this is not the last we have seen of him either. Season 2 is also the first season of the league to feature other divisions. One of these was an IROC division, with the first race so laggy you can't even tell what's going on. The other new series was the second division underneath the Cup Series, where drivers could enter and start to get their feet wet in the league. One key race late in the season was the second Darlington race, as this featured a test of the new cars which we ran all of Season 3. These cars featured new spin physics, which helped the cars be less bricky and more prone to spinning out. This would hopefully promote clean racing, and it did, because this race was a bit of a wreck fest, so it told everyone what they needed to work on, and that was racing clean. At this point, it was late in the season, and we'd moved on to the final round in Phoenix, with 4 drivers duking out for the championship. It's kind of a weird race, because on the last lap, me and the 98 took ourselves out for the championship, as we were 2 of the 4 contenders, and that'll have Brad and the Wolf to duke it out to the line, as Brad, going slow out of the corner, just barely beat him to the line. This would actually be the Wolf's last full-time start. He ended with a second in the points, a pretty good ending. Season 3 would of course open with the Daytona 500, the first super speedway race for the cars with the new spin physics. Overall, the race wasn't actually terrible other than a massive crash on the last lap. This was the result of those new spin physics not allowing people to save it. The only person who really got through the wreck was me, taking home my second Daytona 500. The next race would be at Rockingham Speedway, where Amski, who left the 3 car and started his own team, would take his first win of the season. Once again, this is not the last we've seen of him. The race wasn't too bad either, with a long green flag run around 70 laps to end it. A few weeks later, we went to the Atlanta Motor Speedway to see what these new cars could do on an intermediate, and they would not disappoint, as the race itself was pretty exciting with Atlanta's bumpy surface, and Mr. Businessman driving Amski's old ride would break out for one of his first wins. Overall, it was a nice fluid race with only a few cautions to end it. Throughout the season, Business and Ski emerged as the clear frontrunners and the points and favorites for the championship. This funny moment is from D2. This was back when the cars looked the same and happened to extinct at Darlington. During the season, some other key players emerged, those being Henry and Caston. Henry broke out for what looked to be his only win of his entire career at the Bristol Dirt Race. He was always a decent driver that just didn't win too much, and this lucky caution at the end of the race managed to bail him out and get him his first career win. The other driver I had mentioned was Caston, and he was similar to Henry in speed every week, it's just that he was more prone to winning. This next win that's about to play basically sums up his career perfectly, and I'm going to let the commentators do their job for this one.
3 wide in the back! There it goes! Oh my god! What is going on?
No way!
Caston is gonna win! Caston takes the checkered flag! The slowest car in the field is gonna win the race!
As the season progressed, it was common to see Amski put on dominating performances, especially at the intermediates. A prime example of this was the Texas World Race, where Ski just flat out whooped the field and rightfully took the checkered flag he deserved. Despite Ski's domination, Extinct had still shown up to all the races and was still leading the championship's points due to this. This points gap would shrink, however, as even when Ski DNF'd, Extinct wouldn't be able to capitalize with wins to solidify his points lead. Kentucky's a good example of this, where Ski DNF'd finishing 13th and Extinct could only finish 5th. This led to Homestead, the final race of Season 3, where Ski had got himself within a race points of Extinct. Extinct would actually unfortunately run out of gas inches from its fuel box, and this would allow Ski to be given the opportunity to win this race and take the championship. The stream actually cut out and there was a decent battle to the finish, but Ski ended up winning and taking the cup. Season 4 would of course open with the Daytona 500. It was a decent race with 2 favorites, myself and Extinct. This is primarily because we were the only 2 people who had won the 500 so far in the league's history. Even after a massive crash late in the race, Extinct and I were able to rebound all the way up back into the top 5 late in the race. I forgot to previously mention it, but over the offseason there was some movement, including Ski going from the 72 to the 1 car, myself going from the 18 to the 31, and Mason starting full-time in the 8 car. In NSCRS, there was no double yellow line rule in Season 4, so Extinct making these moves was totally legal as he charged through the field. Down the back straightaway, he would connect with his teammate Alex, and it would give him a huge push into turn 3 and set him up for the win. He would dive to the apron one last time, and me and Business battling in the back would allow him to clear for the lead. Off the final corner, Alex would get turned, leaving Extinct all by himself with no help. We were all stuck side by side, however, and Ski was busy flipping in the back, so Extinct took his 3rd Daytona 500. A few weeks later, a massive field took to the start in Vegas. I wonder who qualified in P6.
Alex goes around at the finish. He's flying away!
Call me superstitious, but I believe Alex has some sort of evil power he uses to cast gray skies over every single race he runs in.
Nice job, Alex, dude. You're so good at this game. Oh my god.
I forgot to mention it earlier, but in the offseason, Brad also moved car numbers, moving over to the 5 car at Ford. He had a good run going at Charlotte in the 600 and was chasing down Ski all night. Even with a good restart on his side, he just couldn't clear Ski going into turn 1, and that would seal his fate. Out of turn 4, he would also lose a position to Extinct, and it kind of seemed like the Season 2 champ was out of his prime. Another exciting race was the All-Star race in Australia. The Calder Park racetrack provided an exciting race experience with a lot of double file racing. The rules changes such as the double file restarts all night long and the Robux prizes kept the tensions high all night long, and Extinct also did this on lap 1.
3 and 4. Extinct on the bottom around, he's gonna go down the, oh my god! Okay.
And for once in the season it seemed like Amski didn't have the fastest car on the track. During this crank it up he spun out all by himself, and it just seemed like he didn't have the best race going for him. Surely he wouldn't win this one. But coming to the white flag, all the bets were off, and I'm gonna let the commentators take this one.
Lots of contact! Oh my god, the flag! Ski just wiped everyone out, I'm pretty sure. Now it's Mason in the one.
God!
Here comes Austin Dillon.
A run out of the 8, no! Oh my god, around, they're gonna go Ski wipes out everyone who's gonna win the All-Star for the 2nd year in a row.
A little bit later in the season, a young driver by the name of Limeskiz would also break out to win his first race of his career, and this wasn't the last we've seen of him either. Later in the season, Business would be able to have dominant races, but never pull out for the win. It always seemed like he would have a good run going, and then something inexplicable would happen to him very late in the race, and he would lose the win. At Bristol, he would lose to Dual Sensory, getting his first career win, and then in Fontana, California, for the Hot Wheels 200, he would lose to Ski in a barn burner to the end, just barely getting nosed out by him. His path of agony would continue into Darlington, where he was leading in the final lap and had the fastest car on the track all day, until he got wrecked out of 4 by a Ski and finished 3rd. The second to final race at Atlanta Superspeedway would kind of break this curse, however, as Business and Ski would dogfight to the end and Business would pull ahead and win against Ski.
Down the front straightaway for the final time at Atlanta. It's no one else but Business. Checkered flag. And number 3 car back to victory lane. The 1 car finished in 4th.
The battle between these two would continue into the championship at Charlotte. The race was actually pretty boring to watch, but the final lap made up for it. Into turn 1, Ski and Business battled hard with Business on the outside. Business would pull ahead down the back, and Ski would side draft him hard. With no other option, Ski throws a Hail Mary in turns 3 and 4 and completely slams the wall. Business runs his normal line through 3 and 4 and uses Ski as a brake. This allows him to get a huge momentum shift out of the corner and go to the finish line first and to the championship. At this point, there's been no repeat champion, and the winners have been Hayogi, the commentator, in Season 1, Brad in Season 2, Ski in Season 3, and Business in Season 4. Season 5 would of course open with the Daytona backstretch race. This race was actually pretty weird and the camera angle was all messed up for the live stream, but there was a lot of cars on a really tiny track with a new body system, and it kind of led to some calamity with me actually winning the race. The Season 5 500 was arguably the best one to date, with intense pack racing all the way through. The racing itself was just incredible. Late in the race, Brad and Extinct battled for the lead. Brad swapped his car number to the 17 for this season, which means he has the most number swaps out of anyone, I'm pretty sure. And Brad and Extinct battled all the way into the corner until Brad got turned and flew into the pack. This would break Brad's car and end his dominant run in the 500 that season. On the final lap, Extinct and myself found ourselves back in traffic. We were ready to charge their front and take back what was ours. This was of course before everything changed. What ensues on this final lap is unbelievable.
Side. Oh no, the 31! Keep it straight, buddy, come on! Jesus.
Oh my god, and the curve, and the wish of him winning again is over.
Oh no, Extinct's going around! Ski's still with the lead, defending as much as he can. Alex, not letting him back up. Coming to the line this time around. Outside, here they come. I don't know who's gonna get this. Here they come, 4 wide, wrecking to the line. Oh my god, Henry's gonna win at Daytona!
In a shocking turn of events, Henry, with only one other career win to his name, won the most important race on the schedule. He would only run a few other races this season, and this was really a one and done for him. We would then head to Rockingham, where a new suspension system would be tested. What was unique about this race is that there was only 7 cars on the grid, even though 8 showed up to qualifying. Extinct was penalized for 5 races after they found out his pit box was a little too big. He had dev access to the studio, so they assumed it was him. The widely accepted consensus is that Extinct was trying to make his fuel box a little bit bigger so he could get better pit stops, but we still aren't 100% sure what happened to this day. The race itself only had a few wrecks here and there. The new suspension also greatly altered the racing for the better. In the old tank chassis cars, drivers would apply the brakes before the corners. In this new car, they applied them in the corners. This allowed for more aggressive passes to be made in the turns. The last lap was pretty eventful, with Dual Sensory taking his 2nd career win, and the driver in 3rd on the white flag, Al Capone, subbing in for Mason, wrecking. The next race at Vegas would have a pretty great commentary booth.
Comment right now.
Al Capone stayed out.
Alright. Alexander, I mean. And I'm sure, oh, bruh.
Aside from that, this race had great battles, but was agonizingly long. Heyogi explains the win pretty well.
Inside! No,
Look
it's
at
not.
this! Old timer on the outside! Brad!
As the three behind Morg
Got
were
one
just
more
wall
shot.
riding that entire last corner.
The 88 drives it in. Here they come. Brad,
Can
tight
Brad
mid-corner.
win?
Here they come to the flag. Dual sensory to the inside. Coming to the line. The 17's going around. I think he wins
I
it.
think Brad got that. I think Brad got that.
Yeah, he did.
Brad got it.
In a time where everyone thought Brad had fallen off, it was nice to see him capture this little win. He ran an extremely limited schedule this season, so it begs the question, was this the last win of Season 2 champion Brad? In the following weeks, what appears a normal Dover race would slowly devolve into chaos. On the backstretch, I was a total idiot and jumped out of my car. If we slow down the feed, you can see it roll up onto the track. They should avoid it, but at this point, we know who we're racing with. In turn 4, Alex absolutely slams into my car. I believe that in this moment he casts one spell of agony and rage, and he takes it out on the 81 of Amsky unsuspectingly. What happens next is some of the only proof of Alex's antics on video. In a moment, Amsky is vaporized, with only around 5 frames showing what's left of his car flying through the air. This actually wasn't Alex, we don't know why it happened, but I like to blame it on him for fun.
What just happened? Ski just got annihilated again, didn't he?
Not much happened for the rest of the race other than Al Capone earning his first career win. Another race this season was the throwback race at Texas World, where a large field took to the green. The track was extremely wide and looked like it had a lot of grooves, but the low lane was super dominant, which led to a lot of wall hits in this race. People tried to find ways to pass off of the low side, but it was super difficult and most of the passes were made in the draft on the straightaways. Another notable factor in this race was that over a third of it was spent green in a row. That means about 50 laps of the race was just straight green flag racing with no yellows. Late in the race, Extinct, who was just coming off of his suspension, would find an extra gear and drive through the entire pack to take the lead. With this, he never looked back and would hold the lead for the rest of the race to take the win. In the coming weeks, Business would take a win at Bristol, getting redemption for last season. And then we headed to Talladega, a race where everyone pushed hard too early, which resulted in a flip from Mason. Caston and Henry also both returned from extended hiatuses in the league, and it was interesting to see them back in the newer cars.
Oh my god! The two flipping!
The race after this wreck wasn't that crazy other than Brad doing his best impression of Mason late in the race. After that, I actually took my first points paying win of the season with a good push from car owner Extinct. In the coming weeks, we had to NSCRS's very own Nile Crocodile, where Ski and Business battled each other a little too hard and gave the win right to dual sensory and set off a huge wreck towards the end. And then we went to Hickory, where a real-life ARCA driver joined the field and it attracted a huge crowd for a small short track. He actually had a really good run but wasn't safe from the mid-pack menaces late in the race, and this would cost him a chance at the win. Winning the race was Business, followed by Amsky, and get ready because this wasn't the first time these two would go 1-2 this season. In the coming weeks, they'd take this order and flip it, with Ski taking a win over Business on the last lap in the 600 at Charlotte. In the coming weeks, I would find myself in a distant third to Ski and Business in the points, and I would start hashing off wins to try and catch them. This almost included taking home a 500 Robux prize by sweeping the West Coast races in Auto Club, Laguna Seca, and Las Vegas. Unfortunately for me, at Vegas, Business would stop me, and this would lead me to need a win at the next race at Martinsville to have a shot at the championship 2 weeks later. On the last lap in the following Martinsville race, chaos would erupt with only Ski and Extinct getting through. Extinct, being a team player, would do the only sensible thing to him at the time.
Drives it in hard. There goes the 81 around. Around he's gonna go.
Extinct had never liked Ski, and just when it seemed like this was out of pure spite, he does the unthinkable.
He's gonna give it to the 31. Mork is gonna win the race.
This was not a planned tactic, and unfortunately, even though I won the race and had a shot at the championship, it wouldn't save Extinct.
Live here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Valvoline Cup Series racing coming to you live.
This was it, the last race in Season 5. Similar to Season 3, only 5 cars showed up to the grid, with Limes and Alwyn being the only 2 that didn't have a shot at the championship. They were only out here for wins, nothing more. Of the 3 guys eligible, Ski was by far the favorite, with a 4-point advantage over me and a 6-point advantage over Business. In order for Business to win, he basically needed Ski to finish dead last and for himself to win. For me to win the championship, I only needed to win the race, as it would give me a 1-point buffer over Ski, and I would take home my first cup. All Ski needed was for someone other than me and Business to win the race. It could be him, Limes, or Alwy. Unfortunately, Alwy would drop out early with connection issues, leaving just him and Limes. Ski by far was the best prepared for the race, as he had won the 600 earlier in the season and had the most practice laps on the track out of anyone. The race ran with only around 5 cautions throughout its entirety, and it seemed like on the long run Ski really prevailed in fuel saving, which made his pit stops a lot shorter and allowed him to get the lead often. Everyone in the race had speed, but Ski was by far faster than most. Despite this, Limes was the one in the front at the end, followed by Business. Business would try and stop Limes and take the win for himself and hope to secure the championship, but it didn't matter. Limes came off a turn 4 and won the race, which secured the championship for Ski. This would create the first repeat champion in the league's history, with Ski winning the championship and taking home the cup, rightfully so. After Season 5, NSCRS is prepared for a new season. This new season will use a new suspension that is revamped off of the old one. Along with this, the cars feature new tire mechanics which allow heat to come into the tires as the run progresses and allow the cars to slide out from under the drivers just like real Gen 4 cars did. As shown in the small test race on screen, the racing seems pretty exciting, and fans and drivers alike have a reason to be excited for the new season. The new cars look to allow hard racing while rewarding drivers who take care of their stuff. The first races to come in the season will surely be interesting, and I'm excited to see what happens. Along with this, test sessions for the Daytona 500 have begun, and the cars look really promising. Along with this, tryouts are beginning soon, and new drivers will be allowed to enter and try to earn seats in Divisions 1 and 2. The new cars award consistency, but they also award aggression. It's going to be an exciting time to watch the races and to be in them, and if you want to try out, the Discord link should be somewhere in the bio. Between seasons, there was a lot of driver movement as well, and a lot of teams are looking for drivers to fill their seats, so trying out shouldn't be too much of a hassle. If you're a driver with a fair amount of skill, or even just learning, I recommend you come to tryouts and learn the cars. They're really exciting and the racing is incredible in my opinion. On top of this, the full season points format allows storylines to develop throughout the season, and it's surely going to be an exciting season. With Extinct still being suspended as of recording this video, there's a good chance there's another new winner in the 500. Maybe even if you're watching this, you could sneak the win in. With all of this history, it's safe to say we've answered the questions from the beginning of the video. Although some people may still be wondering, what exactly is RoRacing? What's the point in it? What I'd have to say to that question is that there's multiple answers. RoRacing can come in many forms, with developed leagues with veteran drivers and storylines, with complex points formats and rulebooks, with independent track developers and officials running the show behind the scenes. Or maybe, just maybe, it can be just some of these things, or maybe even none of these things. Sometimes RoRacing can be just what it says in the name, racing, and that racing at its core is just the same, whether it's for a championship or if it's between just two guys duking it out for a win.